All right. So we are live. Let me make sure my audio is good. All right. So let me just get right into it. So this is well, first of all, my name is Armand Sheffy, aka Pastor Fury. If you're on this video right now, maybe you found it through my channel from the other videos that I've already created, or maybe you just searched. But I am on the front end of really just exploring what in the world it would be to create a media company. So let me give you a bit of the origin story. That's what this video is going to be. The origin story of the Freedom Street Media. That's the company that I believe that I'm supposed to be building right now. So for the past, decade plus, after I discovered who Jesus was and he set my life ablaze, I began this process of learning a lot of new things, and mostly in that scenario for the sake of trying to help build up the church and, develop ministry in our context here in Lake County, Illinois. And what I quickly figured out was that there was a ton that I didn't know, but I was excited. I was stirred up about learning, and that, like, just like loving to learn, I think is a foundation of the origin story here. But at that point, I actually did was serving in a ministry where I was missing the sermons every other week, and I was relying upon the audios of those sermons to get up on the website. And I remember going to the lead pastor and saying, "Hey, can we get these audios up there a little bit faster?" And then classic turnaround, he said, "Hey, do you want to help?" And that was the beginning of my journey into media. Now, I had already kind of poked around at doing, some little audio things as a kid. I liked to rap and make music, but there was nothing real. I didn't have any real software. At this point, I didn't even have a computer. So that was the next step. Go get a computer. Then I quickly learned how to, edit audios using Audacity, still free, solid if you're somebody who's trying to get into audio editing. It's really not that hard to use, and it's totally free. So I started learning how to do it that way, and then learning WordPress as began to had to upload the videos into our website. That's what we used, or not the videos, but the audios into the website. And so that began me learning those types of things in the technical realm. And then I discovered, oh, you know what? I kind of dig this, and what else can I learn? And our pastor was seeing this bit of hunger for more things. Then it became, the social media. And why don't you give it a shot of running some of those things? And hey, take a look at the website. Maybe you can get involved in that in a bigger picture, not just doing the audio podcast, but looking at how to help oversee the management of that. And then shortly thereafter, so now I'm running the website, I'm doing the podcast. The guy who trained me up in the podcast, he actually was like waiting for help, and so he handed it to me. So now I'm running the whole thing. And then we've got somebody, actually our lead pastor, deciding, you know what, I think we should start trying to do video. And he gave me a camera and was like, "Hey, you want to try that?" So then it's just me, Jesus, and Google, right? And that's how we figured things out. And I got into a little training course or whatever on how to do some church online, and learned how to do community engagement there. It's a way to set up the church online platform. And we were ahead of our time there, because we actually went live on church online before that was even really a popular thing. And those were things that I didn't know how to do at the time, and I was just learning. And I was basically 1 week ahead of the thing that I needed to do as far as my learning. And that's one of those things that it just kept me hungry, because it was like I needed that. I need to know this next thing in order to accomplish this next goal. And so now, fast forward a handful of years, I produced a music album, taking some of the rapping that I did as a youngster, and deciding to incorporate that with my audio editing capabilities and began learning music production. I got a Native Instruments machine, which is like a controller for, it's like a beat machine, basically, and learned how to do that and was doing sampling, and then found that I was really loving that, and all at the same time developing my web development skills. Built my own website. Actually started managing another a friend of mine's website, and now his company's like $1 million company or something like that. Like, so there's things that have just been slowly stacking and progressing. And then I started doing my own podcast and put that down for a while, and then created this record company, a record label that I had another rapping friend of mine who is an awesome rapper, Jonathan Lazada. Shout out, y'all should check him out. Who's now a signed artist for Unshackled Records, which is that record label. And so now I've got that going in the background with my album and his album. And then I'm doing the website design stuff and started incorporating some of the creative art designs that my daughter was doing. And then we built this little design boutique called Vu Designs. Vu is a French word that means wish or desires. And so that was something that she was really passionate about getting involved in. So there were all these different things that I've been doing and kind of all looking like one-off kind of things. And then this beginning of this year, it's now 2021. At the beginning of this year, I was feeling stirred up to launch a daily podcast, about 5 to 10 minute podcast every day, talking about the Bible and what we read for that day. And in doing that, I found again like an excitement around podcasting and creating content, and it got my wheels turning. And I believe it was from that, doing this podcast, that 5bythefire.org, you can check it out, was where the beginnings of making all of these little one-off things a cohesive thing. That's where they all began. And that is where Freedom Story Media really was birthed out of. Now, at the same time of all that stuff happening, I'm actually the executive director, and still am, of awesome, small but growing network of microchurches, where we're really a family of missionaries innovating ways to help those in the margins of Lake County and beyond experience freedom in Jesus, right? That's our mission statement. And so this understanding of freedom, and really ultimately freedom being found in Jesus, our ultimate joy and fulfillment being found in him, like that's weaving through all of this. But as I'm doing this podcast, I'm recognizing there's so much that I believe God's putting in me that I want to get out. There's so many stories that I want to be able to tell, and ultimately finding ways to engage with people and help them explore their own story in this journey towards freedom. And I believe that all of us are somewhere in this spectrum between enslavement and complete freedom. And I just want to help jump into the timeline wherever people are in that spectrum, and I'll walk with them towards greater freedom. So the media company is a collection of all of those things that I just talked about. There's a podcast network that's coming. Part of that is going to be the 5 by the Fire podcast, but then there's 2 other podcasts that are being birthed right now that aren't like necessarily, preaching. One of them is going to have biblically based content, talking about the fandom, comic books, comic book movies, that whole superhero thing, Star Wars, all that stuff, and looking at where we can find faith elements and talk about biblical topics and values from those. But then there's a podcast with just a friend of mine who's not a Christian, and it's just because we're good friends, and we're just going to talk about life because he's very different. Like I'm a black pastor, and he's a white guy that works at the same company that I do during the day. That I mentioned, during the day, I actually am an educational support specialist, academic advisor with an educational company. So we've met there, and he and I have developed a really good friendship. So we're gonna have a podcast that talks about fatherhood because we're both dads. Our kids, we've got kids that have special needs. We like the Bears, we like comic book movies. So we're gonna talk about that in the Good Dad, Bad Dad podcast, where we recognize that any day you could be the good dad or the bad dad. So like all of these different things were starting to happen. I'm reminding you, go get joy. Listen to that. So Echo, oh, I just shut it down. She reminds me every day at this time to go and get joy. And that's what I want to help people do as a part of this media company is to go and get joy. And so Echo, stop. So really, that's what we're all. So the podcast network that's going to have that goal. There's a YouTube channel that is really a really fun, focused channel dealing with nerd culture. The Disney Plus, Marvel movies, and all that good stuff. That channel's called Free to Play Entertainment. It's already launched, and we're about maybe 7-8 videos in, and we're enjoying some limited success. But I'm having a good time of leaning in with what God's blessed me with, which is my personality and some of the insights that I believe that He might want to be pulling out of those shows. So it's similar to the Finding Faith in the Fandom podcast that I'm going to be doing with my friend about comic book stuff. I've got some other ideas about YouTube channels that are in the works. I'm going to be doing the Freedom Story Media YouTube with videos like this on there as well, where we're going to be going behind the scenes, talking about building the brand, talking about the vision, talking about the things, the roadblocks we're running into, the difficulties of doing this sort of thing, and the excitements and the victories and the ways that I come into it with one idea and I quickly pivot. So for instance, I, at the same time, these that I'm talking about, was also trying to launch another YouTube channel dealing with just the things that I get excited about. Y'all will figure this out quickly if you haven't already. I am an excitable person. So I get stirred up quickly. And so when I find things online, like, great services, like if you like reading, go check out scribd.com. I wish I had an affiliate link to give you right now, but it is a great service for reading and like great audiobooks. And you get an unlimited amount every month and it's cheaper than Audible. So, there's all these things that I get excited about. Why I love the internet was going to be the name of this YouTube channel, that each episode was going to be talking about a different thing that excites me in a few different categories. That's still coming, but I decided to pull the plug on making that happen now because there's so many things that I'm already moving forward. And I believe that the Lord is saying like, hey, nail these, get these nailed down before you launch this other thing. So I've got that. A pin in that. I've got a pin in a YouTube channel all about stories related to people finding freedom. So answering that question, what's your freedom story? You'll be seeing that coming soon. You'll be seeing podcasts related to people discovering the innovative ways that God might be wanting to use them well beyond their understanding of their own capacity. Recognizing that there's a priesthood of all believers and that each of us in the church is going to have different things that God might call us to do. But I'm also going to be going through a whole lot of my things that I'm learning in regards to the business side of things, like how to do social media marketing well, structuring things like contracts, how to figure out, building a team, and when you don't have the funds to pay people, and interning, and all of the things that go along with building the brand. So that's going to be the series. I'll probably be doing some lives here, maybe be doing some lives over there on that Freedom Story Media YouTube. I'll put a link in the description of this right now, so you can go ahead, go over there and subscribe it. Only subscribe to that if this is some content that you'd be interested in, or if ultimately maybe you don't care so much about building the brand. But when we get this brand going and we're developing more and more content as far as the entertainment and education in our different channels, we'll be talking about those and that sort of thing there. Imagine this, okay? And here's where I'll end, because I'm at like almost at 15 minutes. Big picture. Imagine that Freedom Story Media is like General Mills, right? General Mills, I mean, you've heard of them, but they don't actually make a specific thing. Like, they make multiple different brands. People don't so much know General Mills as much as they might know the brands that are within them. And I wish I could remember specific ones, but like, name any number of cereals, probably like Cheerios, maybe Lucky Charms, or you know what I mean. People know those brands. That's what I believe God's calling us to build here with the Freedom Story Media. With Freedom Story Media, you're going to have brands like Your Vu Designs, and that's going to be my daughter's brand, creating amazing, innovative, cute, teen-focused designs. You're going to have brands like the Unshackled Records and Jonathan Lozada's brand, Unshackled Records, and my Pastor Fury album. My Pastor Fury music brand. You can have brands like Free to Play Entertainment, which is the YouTube I talked about with the fanboy stuff. You'll have brands like Good Dad, Bad Dad, Finding Faith in the Fandom, and more that's to come. I believe each of these brands are going to have their own unique flavor, but they'll all be going towards one central vision. All right. And here it is. I believe right now the vision, the mission of Freedom Story Media is that we exist to tell stories that inspire freedom and elicit joy. And I hope that's exactly what you get out of the content that we will be providing. And I hope you're along for the journey. So subscribe to this YouTube account if you'd like to hear more about that, as well as some of the other biblical content that I'll share. And honestly, here I'll be doing just about anything that comes to my mind as is related to all of the things that the Lord has spinning in my world. And go on over to Freedom Story Media YouTube if you're specifically excited about the vision that I share here today. That primarily is going to be the content that we share there. And I hope that this is even stirring in you some of the passions that have been latent, that are hidden. And I think it might be time. It might be time that you just go ahead and release it. Give it a shot. Try something. Experiment. Move forward. You are free, right? And that's what we're all about at the Freedom Story Media. So hope that is a blessing to you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking to you guys later. Bye.